Hello everybody, and a very warm welcome back to Tony Northeastern and another episode of, well, the Northeastern, because I can't say the big roof anymore because that's finished. So, what are we going to do? Good question. Haven't had much time to think about what's going to happen next, but before we do the grand opening, which will be the next video after this video, there's a few little things I need to completely finish. So, without a further ado, what are these little jobs? While the lights are on everywhere else, there's no lights on in the signal box, because that's our next job, to fit the levers and details into the signal box. And this is how we left the signal box. As you can see, we have a fireplace already in there and a clock, so we don't have to put those in, but we have a kit here which is an LC signal box kit. Just taking everything out of the packet, and this is what we get. We get levers and some shelf with instruments and a panel, diagram panel, there you go, and with instructions. LC modelling, small signal box interior. Well, it is a small signal box. There you go, everything's there. So, let's make a start. So, inside the kit we have block instrument shelf, lever frames with 3 lever extensions, 4 sets of levers, 3 instrument bells, 3 instrument indicators, stove and chimney pipe, coal box, desk, armchair and wall clock. Right, so we won't be needing the wall clock because we've got one in there already, so that will come in handy elsewhere. And we don't need the stove and chimney pipe because we already have a fireplace in there already. But as for the rest of the kit, we shall use them. So the first thing I want to do first is put together these lever frames. So we'll glue those together before we put the levers in. I'm using super glue just for quickness. You don't have to use super glue, you could use the quick contact cement, but just for quickness I'm using super glue. So that's enough for 12 lever frames, which I think for that signal box, don't think it's enough, but I need to ask an expert on that. So there we go. So that's the lever frame based on. So put that to one side. And the next thing, get out whatever's in. Pack. So inside the pack looks like we've got some shelving, some levers, a clock, nice old-fashioned clock there. I might keep that for another building, and 12 levers. We have a chair, stove base, which we're not going to use, so we'll put that back in the packet. So anything I'm not going to use I'll put back in a packet and keep that, all them pieces for another build. And what we've got in here, we've got a desk which just requires painting. Paint that nice brown, and yeah, and what else we have? And all the rest is just instruments. An old box there, looks like an old box. Instruments, bells. Alright. So, let's cut these pieces out. They're the two foots which the shelf is going to eventually sit on. So I'll just chop them out. That one. Drop them in the super glue and I just hit that smack in the middle there. Okay, that's one upright. That's the other upright. See how quick a kit can be put together. Alright, so cut them off of there. So put those onto the shelf. So that goes on there like that. Okay, to the edge probably. I think it's to the edge. Like that, yep. So that edge. Whoops. No, that edge. And that edge. Into the super glue. Oops. All fingers and thumbs. Okay, that goes in. Right. So now we just run some super glue along that edge so we can put the other part of the shelf on. Make sure I've got plenty on there. With it being card, it absorbs straight in. And just lap it on the lip so you can see a little bit of the shelf. Like so. So it's half and half. So looks good to me. It's 90 degrees. The next thing to do is to glue it onto these, but before I do, I just want to offer this up into the signal box, make sure I've got enough height for this and this so it doesn't clash with the roof. So I've checked the height and it's going to clash with the ceiling, so I'm just taking 6mm off the legs. I've just taken the legs off the bases so I can cut that 6mm down, and then I can glue them back on. I've just picked the leg up and took it to the edge of the board so I don't end up crushing the little tiny bracket on the edge there. So and that's ready to stick back onto the base. And hopefully we won't have that issue, because once this is glued in, I've got only one shot at it, and once it's glued to the floor, that's it, it's done. It's going to be a little bit lower than the original kit. I have now assembled the shelving and the posts, and what looks to be like a little diagram there for the track plan, which is nothing like the track plan of South Shields, but it's in the kit, so I'm going to use it. I've just come off the phone to John Cudahy, and obviously this is his signal box, and as you can see, I've stuck the levers together and planted them in there just temporarily to make sure there's plenty of room for everything that's going to be built to go in there. And what he was telling me was very, very interesting regarding the levers. Basically what he was saying, that the colour of the lever frames, for distance it's yellow, for home it's red, for any points they're normally black, and alongside the black they would have a blue locking lever which would lock the point in place. And but this signal box had a few spares. He said there was 6 in there, but I haven't got enough levers to add the 6, as only 12 came in the kit. Originally this signal box held 36 levers, believe it or not, he was saying, and there were 6 of those were spare. That was for the line to continue on, to go onto along the riverside down to eventually the pier. Back in the 1930s, but they were never used, and they were permanently locked off. So that's what John was saying, and so that's an interesting fact to know, the colours of the lever frames. So there you go. Distance is yellow, home is red, point is black, and blue is for locking the points in. Now, so now we're going to do some painting. What I'm going to do now is all the furniture. So that's the framework on here, the chair, the desk, and the storage box. After speaking to John, South Shields, because it was at the end of the line, it had one bell and one instrument indicator. But for this, there may have been a spare for the extension that might have happened, so I've added 2 bells and 2 instrument indicators. So these will be the ones in use, and these will be the ones that won't be in use. So that's what we're going to do now. I have mixed up some paint. I have mixed up a matte 113 with some satin yellow 310, and hopefully that'll give the framework and furniture just a little bit of a sheen. So it seems to be soaking into the card quite well, quite quickly. So here we go. Now these great big pads on the bottom of this post, I don't know if that's prototypical or if it's the way it's been designed to stand these upright. And what I'll do is when I come to do the instruments, I'll just paint them a slightly toned down brown. Yeah, there does seem to be a little bit of a shine in there. That's the yellow paint which is working. I know you might not be able to see all this detail, but we've been here before, haven't we? You don't know just what you're going to see when you look through the windows. But I know for sure you won't be able to see all the bells and whistles and the instruments. I have painted each piece of furniture a slightly different colour brown, just to well, make them different. So that's this little storage box you get in the kit, and if I just bring the chair into view, this is the chair. Quite a posh little seat. So what I've done is I've painted it, this is like a mahogany brown, it's a slightly darker brown, a reddy brown to this one, and all I've got to do now is paint the cushion in there a green once it's dried. And the cabinet is a pine cabinet, if I can just get that into shot. There, it's a pine cabinet, slightly yellow. If I just spin that around, there you go. Slightly yellow. I might give that another coat because the plastic's still coming through. So once that's dried, I'll give that another coat. I have added some matte 100, which gives it a red colour, as you can see, so that makes it look like mahogany. So I'm just adding that now, and then it's just a case of adding the silver for the bells and adding white and red for the indicators. Very delicate work, this. Now we have moved on a little bit. How I highlighted the diagram here was I dipped a Q-tip into the paint, just a little bit mind, and then squashed it on a piece of kitchen towel and took off as much paint as possible, and then I just rolled it across the diagram there, and it just highlighted the diagram, as you can see, and the track plan. And the next thing I did was, with these indicator dials on the indicating panels, is I chamfered down this toothpick to a very fine point, and then just put the line in very delicately in the white paint. That gives you the two indicators. So we're nearly there. The base on these lever frames is painted, and I've just got to do the bells, and then we're ready to go. Put all this lot into the signal box. Right, as you can see, I've got all the parts ready, all ready to go into the signal box. Now, I wonder what John would say if he was here.
Well, I'm watching you, Tony, but you've made a good job of that. That's spot on, son. You've got all the colours right as well. Best of luck to you, son. You made a good job of it all together. Excellent. How's that?
Where did that voice come from? It's been great talking to you, John, and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks for popping in.
Right, Tony, it's always a pleasure. I just, in fact, you've really made my day by even talking about that run, you know, that line from South Shields round the coast.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was never mooted, you know, and there was the 6 levers are in.
Yeah.
And I used to be on about that, talking to people, and that didn't happen. They just run cranes on that line, but I say, well, it was supposed to run to the, you know, didn't believe us. It's a load of rubbish there.
Well, I've left anyway, a couple of...
I got some information on it, and I told this lad called Les Snaith, I think it was. He's like another rock, and he says, I'll look into it. So we both got together, and he put it on, and he's the one that made it public, but nobody would believe me.
Well, I've put a couple of spare levers in there just in case I ever decide to extend the line.
I'll be over the moon if you put a line around there. I'll tell you, I'll be over the moon.
Alright, take care, John. Bye for now.
Okay, Tony, son. Look, thanks very much for your conversation. I've enjoyed yourself there.
What John was talking about is, at one point before World War II, they had decided to build a line which followed the River Tyne virtually all the way down, and would have met up with the pier, and basically the track on the right would have gone around the corner there and followed the Tyne, and I believe from what John was saying there would have been another station further on, but due to World War II that did not happen. So I just thought I'd mention that before we move on and do some more. And also what John mentioned was that he used to be on a shift pattern at this signal box, and the other guy was called Ernie, and so we've got Ernie in the signal box, and we've just got John arriving to do his shift. So that finishes that signal box off. So what I'll do, I'll connect the wires back up, and that'll be lit up. Then we can have a look, see what it looks like lit up, and we can concentrate on other little jobs. I have reconnected all the wires, and thankfully the LED still works, which is good. And as you can see virtually all the detail in the signal box. The lever frames, the chair right at the back there, you can see that quite easily. The bureau, some sort of storage box, and all the interior, even down to the little bucket of coal by the fireplace. So the next job we want to tackle to finish off this area, because it looks quite barren as you can see, is to add the fencing. In the photographs there was some black fencing that ran the whole length of this platform, so that's what we're going to concentrate on next. As you can see, with this little tiny piece of fencing which goes between the signal box and the pillar on the main station wall, I have added a gate just by cutting some plastic strip and formed a gate up. Obviously you've got to sacrifice a fence panel to do this, but it's well worth it. So let's just see if I can put it in situ, because that's where it's going to go. It's going to go in there. When it's glued. And then what we'll do then is we'll just continue the fencing from that side of the door there. If we can just get my big thumb out of the way there, and then that will just run along right away to the edge of the platform. So we should see what it looks like when it's all done. Meanwhile, back at the bench, I'm making some concrete posts. These are for platform 2. When you come out the station at the other end, the length of the platform there's got no fencing, so in order to make sure that these fences stand upright, I'm just making some concrete posts. I need at least 11 of these. Basically I'm making them out of 1.5 by 1.5 square polystyrene strip, and basically once I've cut them all, I then chamfer off one corner, and these will be glued like so, and then the post itself will be painted in a concrete colour, and then we shall glue these to the platform edge, and then hopefully it'll stand upright like this. Because if you glue this on its own, it'll probably just topple over, but in real life they would may have had a concrete post where these fence posts would probably get bolted to. So we shall see. With the posts now stuck to the fence, all I have to do then is mix up a little bit of grey paint to represent the concrete. So I've used some matte 33 and some matte 147 and mixed it up in this little tiny jam jar. These are brilliant, these little jam jars, because once you're done, you put the lid back on and it seals the paint up, and you can use the paint yet again. And that's basically it. Once that's done, we can then glue this onto the platform, and we shall see what it looks like later on. And now we have the fencing in place, and as you can see, the concrete pillars go right down the back of the platform into the ground, and I think that looks prototypical of what you might see on some of the platforms. And yeah, with the fencing in place over there as well, it's starting to take shape at this end on the platforms. And the fencings wouldn't be complete without the enamel advertising signs. Now, as you notice here, I have been painting the backs of these signs so that when they're glued to the fence you don't see the cardboard or the paper. And these are from Model Scale Scenery, and you get quite a few in a packet. Now we have the lampposts in place, one either side on each platform. We're virtually almost nearly done, apart from the signal gantry, which is going in just about here. The kit's on order, so once that turns up I'll be able to crack on with that. But quite recently I've had a couple of parcels in the post. One of them was from Chris over at Wheezy Palace Models, who sent me these guys a couple of months ago. Alan over at Dragon Junction made a comment saying, oh, you could do with some pigeons in the rafters. And Chris over at Wheezy Palace sent me these. I didn't even know that he had sent me a parcel, and with a nice little note saying thank you very much for all I'd done, and he wanted to be a part of this railway, so he sent me these guys. Now I'd love to have had a go at making these myself, so you've done me out of a job there, but how could I make them as good as this? Look at the detail on them. They're lovely. Thank you very much, Chris. Very much appreciated. And thank you, Alan, for the idea in the first place. So there. Moving on. The next parcel that came through the door was from Charlie McGowan over at Partick Central Railway, who has 3D printed some of these landside junction boxes. I'd sent him some sizes, and this is what he's come up with. They are pretty good. They are pretty good. In fact, let's have a look. So bearing in mind I did not send him any pictures, all I did was send him some dimensions, and the detail is pretty good. It's almost carbon copying of them. But like I said, I did not send them any pictures at all. And once they're painted up, they'll look smashing on the layout. Thank you, Charlie. Very much appreciated. Right. We've almost come to the end of the video. I'd just like to say thank you very much for John Cudahy for popping in and saying hello. Thank you for Chris over at Wheezy Palace, and Alan for the idea, and Charlie over at Partick Central. And basically, thank you to all you guys for watching. And won't be long before we have the grand opening. Next video. Bye for now. Bye.